Welcome everyone. We hope you're able to tune in. Welcome to Women in Wealth, our digital series where we spotlight all-star women across corporate America. We also explore how women can be even smarter when it comes to investing and climbing the corporate ladder. I'm Seema Mody, correspondent here at CNBC Business News. Myself, alongside my partner in crime, Patricia Martell, supervising producer at CNBC, with our guests. Patricia, over to you.
Thanks, Seema. And today's talk is really all about maximizing your money. And we are partnering with Real Simple Magazine for this one. They recently released their Smart Money Awards to identify the best financial apps and services of 2022. They worked with an independent panel of financial pros to come up with the list, and more than 30 apps and services made the cut. What stood out to me about this list is that there really is something for everyone, whether you're a young investor, a freelancer, or just want to need help like managing your budget. There's something here that you can probably find helpful. So let me introduce our guest. Lauren Iannotti is the editor-in-chief of Real Simple. She's a veteran journalist and helped oversee the process of selecting these apps. So Lauren, welcome. I do want to start, before we get to the list though, something interesting that I noticed in getting ready for this. I looked at your bio, and you've worked with some really, interesting women. Two specifically stand out: successful, self-made Rachel Ray and Oprah Winfrey. Can you talk a
That's
little
true.
bit about what you learned from them, and did they, give you advice?
Um, so first of all, thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be here, and it's a real important initiative for Real Simple to be bringing women this financial content. So I'm very excited to be talking to you guys today. Yes, I've had a long career and I've had a lot of great jobs. I've been very, very fortunate, and or that's a girl thing. I've worked really, really hard and challenged myself and been successful in the publishing and magazine industries. Um, yes, I worked for Oprah, which was I watched Oprah every day after high school when I didn't have a soccer practice, and was absolutely starstruck when I first met her. But yes, I did work directly with her. For several years, I was honored to work on her brand because she, yes, is completely self-made, and she also takes others with her. As we know, she raises other people up. The same is true for Rachel Ray. They're both women who support other women. And I think that's a big lesson that I learned from them, which is two things. Your boss supports you. It's not the other way around. And as a manager, you support your team. It's not that they're just supposed to toil away for you. And I felt very supported by both of these wonderful figureheads, um, and um, and also just that you know I think Madeline Albright said, like, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women. I mean, these women help other women, and they look for people to support. They feel they worked hard for what they have too, and they feel gratitude, but they also want to and they want to share that with other people. So I loved those two lessons. But I also just say working in mostly in women's lifestyle publications and websites. For me, I've worked for like a lot of really powerful and talented and brilliant women, and the best one. And not everybody was perfect, and there were good lessons and bad lessons, and things to do and things not to do. But I have to say, a lot of what I saw was we were creating content to improve women's lives, and we were trying to support each other and raise each other up in these, even within the organization. So it's been a great ride.
So let's get to the list. What do you think? What do you think is the most important takeaway from the list, and all the services and the apps that were compiled?
Well, I gotta say, you hit on something there. We do have something for everything. We have a very broad audience. It's a very popular brand that like appeals. Our content appeals across demographics. So we did want to include products across demographics. So what we did was we gathered up. We went out to the publicists at all the big banks and for the new apps and any kind of financial product that we thought might be worth evaluating for our readers, and gathered them all up and got them to our independent financial experts who evaluated them all. And I think the biggest takeaway is if you're not looking at these things and paying attention to these things, you're letting money get away. If you are, there's that old bad advice that was always given to women, like don't ever use a credit card, use a debit card, which is totally, totally terrible advice. You can use a credit card and you should, because there are benefits to it as long as you can pay it off at the end of the month, as long as you look at it as an advance, right? Not as not as a loan. So it's an advance on money that you already have and you'll just pay it off at the end of the month and you'll get benefits from it. So we have a myriad of products and ideas, apps and financial products from the banks and the investment houses, and that all help women maximize the dollars that they have. Help anyone, honestly, and this does not have to be limited to women, by the way. Anybody can check this out and learn. We focus on women because most of our audience is women, and because we know women are underrepresented in finance and in many aspects of what we're covering here. So but it's for everybody. And it, basically the big takeaway to me is like, look at these things that I can get in on, and then I can be benefiting from them the way others are already doing.
Why do you think it's taking so much time for millennial women to play a more active role in investing, whether it's in real estate or stocks, the world Patty and I live in here at CNBC?
Good question. And I will, I'll emphasize that I know the women aspect better, that you guys are know the money aspect pretty well. For me, what I observe is a couple things. Early in your career, you don't feel like you're making enough money to invest, which is a common feeling. But honestly, even if you can just tuck away, if you can just do, max out your, 401k at the very least, and just be putting that away and hopefully take it right out of the check and not miss it. So I think it's a lot of it has to do with like not, feeling that they're earning enough. And as we know, like millennials came into the job market and it wasn't great, and it hasn't been great since, and it's been hard for them to build careers, and then COVID happened. And so millennials and younger generations are kind of less represented here. So I think that's a part of it. I also think women in particular don't always have the information, haven't sought it out, don't know if it's for them. Defer, and don't realize that it's like anything else, it's a pursuit. It's almost like a hobby. It's a hobby to love your money and want to use it well. And if you invest the time in learning that hobby, you will benefit over time, and you will certainly benefit in ways that help you. I mean, I know you're not thinking about retirement yet, maybe if you're, 34, but you sure should be. And not I don't want to be threatening to anybody, but like you might want to be. And so paying attention to this will help you in that.
So I did notice that the list is now in its fourth year, right? That Real Simple has been doing this. How has the list evolved?
Well, it's grown. I will say that it started as a little baby and a smaller idea, and it has developed into this massive. I just remember every time it hit my desk, I read it several times during the editing process, and every time it hit my desk, I was like, "Here comes the big behemoth that's going to land with a." It's digital, so it doesn't really land on my desk, but you know what I mean. So, it's a very big project for us. It has gained sponsorship, so we can work with financial clients, and we've done events around it. So we do a financial summit around it that helps bring it to new audiences, who would additionally want to be at a seminar. We have it's like a financial summit for us, who would want to attend that in addition to reading the story. And otherwise we've expanded the judging. Initially it was just in-house. Now we have these independent experts outside, which is helpful because they know their business and they help us make these decisions. The editors still weigh in as well, and we test a lot of things ourselves. But I guess another thing that has changed is that there have become a lot of really niche and specific products that we think are extremely super cool and kind of shouldn't be niche. So those apps obviously have become a huge thing, and using them to your benefit. So just the breadth of options has kind of grown.
Well, I want to. You've worked with so many different power players, as Patty, as both of you were just discussing, Oprah, Rachel Ray. I mean, these iconic women. And in terms of how they invested, what did you learn about their investment style, where they put their money, or just advice in general about how to balance a budget?
I will tell you, I was not privy to their portfolios as their employees.
Right.
However,
with the sense of whether they're conservative, whether they're aggressive, how they think about money.
Sure. I can tell you I worked much more closely with Rachel, and I worked for her for several years. And I can tell you that For her, and I liked this. This was a lesson kind of I learned from her, which was she'll say like, I never really worked for money. She's always worked for like passion for the work and like love, believe me, like is, loves making a nice salary. But to her, it was always like, if you work for the love of the work, then the money will come. It's that age old lesson, but she really believes, like lives it and believes it. And not only that, she's got great people, and I'm sure she's got great people investing her money for her. But I know she also is just like Oprah, profound philanthropy runs through her blood. So she loves, and I think we all do now, like loves like sort of a triple win where she can do some good for the world, and it's also an investment, and it's also good for her business. So and as everyone I think does, kind of looks for that, looks for those opportunities. But honestly, I think we're all, as far as investing, like, I think everyone should have their own what makes them comfortable in their own ethos. Like, I lament that, sometimes I lament that women are risk averse, and tend to be, wanna put their money in much, safer pockets and safer places, but then something like the current market happens, and I'm like, "Phew, good for us," or, um, and knowing that, if you adore your stocks and don't want to sell them at the first rumblings of the market, and you hang on to them for longer, you're going to have a better return. That idea of sort of patience and a slightly more conservative, it's the reason, we know women don't invest as much as men do. They don't play the market as much, especially as personal investors. They don't aren't as likely to have an investment professional working with them, a financial professional working with them. However, when they do, we know that they have a better return rate, right? So women have a better return rate than men when they invest. So that may come from some of this patience and willingness to sort of wait it out, um, or whatever it comes from. I don't know. Like it's like, you don't want to gender everything, and obviously gender is a kooky thing, and we know it's fluid. And similarly, I think people's attitudes towards their money and investing are fluid, and it's a continuum. It's not either or. So, but I do think that, I mean, I don't know about you guys, are obviously you're in this world, and you have your own money, and you're investing it yourselves, and so you kind of have your own experiences too. I mean, do you think, how do you guys look at it? How do you feel? Do you think because you know as much as you're kind of you're not part of that category of women who are like hesitant about money? You talk about it all day and work with it all day. Do you think, and not to be interviewing you, but I am a journalist too. Do you guys find that your expertise helps you be more like sort of aggressive?
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm an aggressive investor, but I am, I do make sure, to like max out my 401k, that, I am, I have a rainy day fund. But honestly, I speak to like, I mean, we have the benefit of speaking to like so many great investors and financial advisors, and that's kind of really how this project was born, was like having these conversations with other female investors, and just like learning more, right? And just making sure that even if when I'm contributing to my 401k, that the company matches part of that. You're getting free money, and that's something sometimes you think, well, I may not be able to afford 15 20%, but if you at least match up to the point, or invest at least up to the point where the company
Where
matches,
it's matched? Yep.
right, that's free money that you're
Otherwise, that
that you're
money is
getting.
walking away.
It's
It's
walking
gone.
away, right? Exactly. And one of the things that I learned is just realizing like how like fast it actually grows, right? Like once you see over a couple years and 5 years and 10 years, like it really starts to add up. And so it just gives you comfort to like, okay, I'm just gonna you just keep contributing, whether it's up or down. And here obviously we closely follow the market, the market's moves, and sometimes there are some ugly days where the market is down either daily or weekly, and on those days I don't even look at my
That's smart.
401k. i
That's
just
smart.
i
That's
just
very
I
smart.
kind of just wait it out, and that hopefully and it has we'll recover, and we'll keep going, and it'll keep going up. And that's one of the things that I actually did like about the list, is that there are a lot of kind of smaller, players or upstarts, but there are some big, established financial companies, right? You talk about Fidelity, and they have their youth account, so you can set up an account, for your teenager, or Schwab has the starter kit. So so you may like already have like a Fidelity account, right? So you just
Right.
think, okay, like, maybe if that's already, you already have comfort with that, where they're like, well, I'm not sure about this, kind of smaller app that maybe new, maybe, hasn't been proven yet. But big players, right? The big companies are also getting in here and investing, and educating investors.
Absolutely. And I think we didn't discriminate against the big guys either. And we know that they are bringing, and probably in part as a reflection of the competition they're getting from smaller upstarts, but they are bringing cool new products that are really, really helpful to people. And yes, I do think recognizable names, it's very helpful. Like we have stuff for people who are going to be more conservative and want to stick with the banks that they're familiar with. And then we have, there's one group that's doing you can get in on IPOs. Like it's usually like you have to be a huge investor and you have to go through that, but you can actually have a little piece of an IPO as an independent investor, an individual. And that's new and that's never happened before. And that's super cool. It's not for the beginner. Like we have stuff for the beginners. That one's more.
That's really interesting. What's the name of that one?
I'm looking at my notes here. I gotta find it. I'll tell you in a second. But
and while you look, Lauren, Seema, there was another one that's on here that I think we need to do a little more research on. It's called Alinea. It was founded by two women in their 20s here in New York, and they call themselves, the anti-Robin Hood. And really going after, has this like kind of social investing, social, like social media kind of quality about it, where you can, create your network and you can see what your friends are investing in. So it's a good way to, share ideas, and see, what your friends are buying.
I love that.
Yeah, you can also hook it to a theme where if everybody's eco-conscious, all the stocks will be rightly aligned with that, and so you can kind of, like, you and your peer group can, and I love that too, because yes, let's make it a social thing. Like not only is it socially acceptable to talk about money, but let's make it socially like acceptable to like kind of be open about where you're investing. I think that's really cool. And just to loop back around, it was Sophie that does the IPO investing. You have to have an account with them, but there's no minimum balance to participate, and you get to see what IPOs are coming up, and you can flag it for interest, and it's like a reservation for some shares. So it's cool. You just get a little piece of it.
That's really interesting. As you conducted this research and looked at all the different financial products, the best ones you should be putting in front of your younger audience, is there one asset management firm, one bank that you think that's done the best job offering these type of financial products, especially at a low rate? Because that's something that Patty and I discuss a lot. A lot of these ETFs that are maybe going after a specific trend, whether it's big tech, ESG, but often they charge a hefty fee.
Right. I mean, we tried to look at things that were minimal fee or no fee, that they had other ways of making their money. And we also wanted to look, I mean, we really zeroed in on some of the more like kind of altruistic things, like a bank that, you don't have to have to open a bank account, you don't need a social security number. If you're a new immigrant or refugee, they'll let you do it anyway. For $5 a month, you can have all access to everything a bank would offer you. And we love that, because obviously, like, we are actually, one of our judges was an immigrant 20 years ago and could not open a bank account, and now she's a financial professional, and she like flagged that, was like, this would have been amazing for me. This is an amazing thing. It's called Majority. It's a subscription based digital only banking service. As far as like one bank that's like doing a really good job, I mean, I hesitate to flag one. I think there are many that are doing great jobs. A lot of it, Chase appears on here, Citi appears on here. They're especially getting really creative. The competitive credit card market has made it like, it feels like a buyer's market. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in credit cards that you can get really, really great benefits from. So all of this, like a lot of the major cards are doing that. I mean, we love Fidelity. They've been a partner of ours before. And it seems really savvy marketing, but also kind of good for the world the way they're doing this youth accounts, and because obviously they're getting customers younger, and they get what you want, it's passed along from parents to kids, so it's very smart, but it's also addressing a real need, which is financial education. Part of the reason, as we discussed, like that women aren't like necessarily as onto, and I think that like I feel like only 58% of people are invested in the stock market. Like part of the reason that there isn't critical mass there is because of a lack of financial education. I don't think we have enough financial education in our schools, so I think just that just that that some of the banks are taking up the slack there, and of course it's a marketing opportunity, but they're also providing like really excellent services in educating younger generations about money. So like I'm here for it, absolutely.
And Seema, one of the other ones that is on this list that is super interesting is the Points Guy app. We interviewed Brian Kelly for
Amazing.
Women in Wealth a couple months ago. I guess it was closer to like the kind of the peak summer travel season, and he had a ton of great tips and advice, and a great strategy, to maximize and leverage your points and in rewards programs. But if you use the app, it just simplifies that process, right? It helps you kind of keep all of those points in one place, because doing that yourself, if you have, a couple credit cards and maybe you have like, several rewards programs, like that's a lot of work, right?
Yeah,
And
ask my husband. And so it's another job. So totally agree. And real simple, we are all about simplifying. We're like, how can you make your life easier? But we don't want to simplify to the degree that you're like not going to have these cards. It's just too complicated. No, you want to have the cards, maximize the points, and that's what it does for you. Like for me, my points guy has been my husband. I will be like gas. He'll be like, use the Chase Sapphire. So now you can go to you can, if you have the points guy app, it will do all that work for you. My husband doesn't have to do it for me anymore. And you'll know exactly, am I getting groceries? What should I, which is going to be the best place? Which is the best card to use for these things to maximize your points, and maximize your miles? And yeah, you're exactly what you said. We don't, it's complicated for a reason. All love to the banks, it's complicated for a reason. And nobody wants to make
Yeah,
it
they don't
easy
want.
for you to walk away with all this stuff, right?
No, they don't want to make it easy. That's why you really have to put the work and the research into it to make sure you're getting the best deal. To Patty's point, there are a lot of people who are just sitting on points and points, miles and miles of free trips, but they don't necessarily know how to use it or when they expire. So it's really important to do the research, because that's your money. Like you deserve.
That is your money.
Lauren, we are entering a period where the economy is softening, interest rates are rising. What are you seeing from your audience with the types of stories, their level of concern right now about the economy? What are you hearing?
Tons of concern, and the concern is about retirement. A lot of again, like I said, our audience spans from 20s to probably into the 60s, and a lot of our readers, users, fans, and followers worry a lot about retirement. It was the same when I worked at Oprah too. I remember someone's like sort of fantasy, like, what's the worst that can happen? Well, I'll live in a cardboard box for my retirement. So I think people are worried about that, especially those who are approaching retirement, and with the market being as it is. And so uh, that's always a concern. And it's like, as we know, like timing is part of it. And just your general, like, your tolerance for uncertainty, right? And even the people who do everything right can't control everything. It's a big thing with a real simple reader, by the way. Control is a big thing, and that's part of the reason why we do try to feed this information to them, because they want to feel like they have some semblance of control over their lives, and that includes their money. And I want to help them have that control and have them feel empowered. If the word is tired, empowered, but really like empower them with the information so that they're smart about their money. So I do think retirement is a big concern. College is a big concern. Just the escalating, skyrocketing costs of college, inflation is terrifying right now. And then the cure for inflation is terrifying. So I do think that just all of this uncertainty has just laid a level of anxiety on everyone. Just as uncertainty in Europe, and what's going on in Europe right now. So, you know, I think what everybody needs to do is like belly breaths for starters, and then control what you can. and be smart about the decisions that you make, and understand that you cannot control everything, and, do your best and don't lose sleep if you can avoid losing sleep, because if you haven't got your health, you haven't got anything, and you need sleep for that.
And don't stop investing, right? Like that's also, don't get discouraged when things get rocky. Like you should stick with it for the long term, because we're long-term investors. We're not traders.
Correct. Don't pull out. Just wait for, like I said, marry your stocks. Stay with them for like the length of a marriage. Stay with them for a long time, and that's how you win. And that's one of the, we had a lot of reader feedback, like placed into the story. We put out calls on social, like, what's the best financial advice you ever had? And a lot of it kind of just went to like, you only lose if you sell, right? So when the market goes down, you only lose if you sell. So if you can have some patience and make sure that have some liquid so that you can take care of yourself, and you can wait out the storm, you're the winner.
Always easier said than done, but no,
Always.
Great advice. Great advice.
Well, this has been a great episode. Lauren, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Hopefully the first of many conversations that we're going to be having with you. And we're starting to keep track of the smart money apps. And we'll look forward to having you back.
Learned a lot.
We learned a lot. Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful. You guys are brilliant. Love talking to you.
Oh, thanks, Lauren. Bye, Seema. Bye, Lauren.